His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sunday. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Responsibly. I shall now explain the knowledge.
I shall explain the knowledge.
Knowing which you will taste the eternal.
Knowing which you will taste the eternal.
Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Report. The Lord has explained the field of activity and the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. Now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and then the supersoul. By knowledge of the knower, both the soul and the supersoul, one can relish the nectar of life. As explained in the second chapter, the living entity is eternal. This is also confirmed here. There is no specific date at which the jiva was born, nor can anyone trace out the history of the jivatma's manifestation from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is beginningless. The Vedic literature confirms this. Najayate, nuyate, va, vipaschit, Upanishad 1-18. The knowledge of the body is never born, the knower of the body is never born and never dies, and he is full of knowledge. The Supreme Lord is the Supersoul. As the Supersoul is also stated in the Vedic literature, Svete Svaratara Upanishad 6:16, to be Pradhana Kshetragya Pati Gunesha, the chief knower of the body and the master of the three modes of material nature. In the Shmiti it is said, Dasa Bhukto Hari Eva Nan Yas Yai Vaiva Karachin. The living entities are eternal in the service of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Lord Chaitanya in his teachings. Therefore, the description of Brahman mentioned in this verse is in relationship to the individual soul. And when the word Brahman is applied to the living entity, it is to be understood that he is Vijnana Brahman as opposed to Ananda Brahman. Ananda Brahman is the Supreme Brahman, personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Janagana Salakayam Chakshusmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Shakitam Jena Bhutare Sayam Rupakara Maya Dadati Sakarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gataparakama Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sahijatam Sagaradaganatan Vitam Sajivam Sadaitam Sadarutam Vijnai Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagaravita Shri Vishakaritamsha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Purnavandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Namosute Tata Kanchana Gauraki Radhe Vrinadeshwari Vishnavanustate Karnamani Daiviye Vanchaka Patari Laksha Vipasindhu Vayevacha Patinaham Paveyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this section of the Bhagavad Gita, it becomes a little detailed and intricate, the difference between the Lord, the living entity, the knower of the and the material nature, of course. So the Mayavadis, they don't bother with this kind of knowledge. They say, well, everything is all one, so ultimately we don't have to be concerned with this. You just merge into it. But actually, as Prabhupada is pointing out here in the Purport, Lord Chaitanya has explained that very elaborately the difference between the Lord and the living entity. So we're getting a little explanation here in this section. In today's verse, we see that the Lord says He's going to explain the knowable Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me. So it's very clear what Krishna is saying. He's saying it's subordinate to me. Mat Param Brahma. He said it's mine. It's anadi. It's always beginningless. It's always existing. The living entity and the impersonal Brahman is also Brahmano hi pratishtaham. That's also coming from the Lord, you can say. Resting on the Lord. Pratishta means a resting place. So the living entity is also. So what the living entity can, if he wants to identify with the impersonal Brahman, but the Vaishnava will never consider that as an option because there's no real exchange is there. The taste, Ananam Buddhi Vardhanam, that we're really hankering for, the real nectarine taste is in relationship. It's in variety. I'll probably give the example. If I said, okay, you can sit down here in the field in Mayapur out by yourself forever, you won't agree. You say, no, I want to go to Calcutta. Because there's something to do there. Who can just sit in the field? So in the Vaishnava conception then, we do come to the level of Brahman, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, that Brahman, which is resting on Krishna, Brahmabhuta prasanatma, nasochati nakanchati. The devotee does realize Brahman, and therefore he becomes joyful, but then he goes further, and in that Brahman, he develops his spiritual body. Probably gives the example of a green bird goes into a green tree. It appears to merge, but it has its identity there. This is also confirmed in the second chapter. You and I and all these kings have always been, we always will be. So the individuality of the living entity is eternal. We're always going to be existing as individuals. Now, right now, because of the misuse of independence, we're suffering. Dukalayam ashashritam, in a temporary place which is full of misery. But here, this verse is pointing out that beyond this, there is another nature. So the atheists, the fools, they think, no, this is all in all. This world. It happened by chance, just by combination of chemicals, and there's nothing beyond it, and therefore we should eat, drink, and be merry, because we're going to die, and then everything is finished. But that mentality is what's keeping us from entering into the spiritual world. No. Because in the spiritual world, everyone agrees to put Krishna in the center. Whereas here, because we think we're the proprietor of this world, that somehow we've evolved, and now we have a right to dominate the resources of nature. We have a right to exploit for our satisfaction because man is the highest thing. This is how the secular humanists believe. And therefore, there's always trouble, quarrel, and cheating and competition, because everyone wants to be the enjoyer. You see, we're not meant to be the enjoyer. That's why there's so much envy, because when we see someone else enjoying, then we become envious of them. Why should they enjoy? I want to enjoy. Just like the children, we see them. Because they are guileless, they don't cover it so much. So they're just openly envious. And they, with each other. No, that's mine. Give me, no, it's mine. I was playing with it first, we can see. So the same mentality is there, but because we're grown up, we're a little more sophisticated. And we don't show our emotions or our feelings so easily. But it's the same disease. We want to be the enjoyer. We want to be the controller, the proprietor. And therefore, we make everything difficult, complex processes. We make everything, although it should be simple, we make it complex. What is it simple? God is the proprietor. That's the simple understanding. Who can quarrel with that? If we all agree, yes, God is the proprietor, and my position is also there, but I am subordinate to him by constitution. And therefore, I should be happy to serve him. And I will be happy if I can actually get beyond my false ego and come to the level of devotion, real devotion, which begins when we are free from this false ego. Not from the real ego. What is the real ego? That I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis of Vrindavan, who are serving Krishna. That's my real position. But as soon as or as long as I maintain the false ego, what is the false ego? That I'm the proprietor, I'm the enjoyer, everything is meant for my satisfaction, then we remain in the suffering, disease condition. It's very clear, simple to understand. It doesn't require, one has to be a learned scholar to understand the principles of Bhagavad Gita. But it does require that we recognize that for so long we've been envious of God, and therefore we're envious of others. And now we're making you can say, a determination to give up that envy, to become a devotee. Devotee means just the opposite. Therefore Krishna said, don't explain this subject to those who are envious. So devotee is free from envy. And therefore, how is it possible? Because he's experiencing a higher taste. Here Krishna is offering some nectarine experience that we can ascertain for our own self. We can have that experience for ourselves. Then we'll see that this is better than whatever we may imagine in our competitive mood, trying to be better than others, one-upmanship, which passes for pleasure, some political move that we can defeat our enemy, and we take pleasure out of that. This is the material world. Therefore we say it's not a fit place for a gentleman, because the whole atmosphere is surcharged with this envy. I want to be in the center, and I'm envious that someone else is in the center. And therefore I plot how to undermine them, how to break them in some way. And if you look in the newspaper, it's full of these kind of things. One leader is trying to dispose another leader. For whatever reason, everyone is thinking, I should be in the center. I should be the real leader. I'm the best. So when we come to spiritual life then, we have to take the opposite position. I'm happy to be the servant. Bhaktisiddhanta said, don't try to be great, but be the opposite, be a good devotee. Good devotee means what? He wants to cooperate with the superiors. He wants to assist Srila Prabhupada in his mission. And that's the only criteria. Whatever is beneficial for Prabhupada's movement, then I'm happy to do that. So therefore Prabhupada has made it easy for us. Everyone can do something to assist Srila Prabhupada, and therefore everyone has a position. We don't have to be envious of someone else. They have their position, you have your position, I have my position. We all have a position at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And nobody can take that away from us. Only we can take it away. If we give up that service and we become envious of each other, then of course there'll be problems. Otherwise, what is the problem? Do we have enough work to do? All the materialists are out there, they need to hear this message, just like Mother April is inspired to distribute these books. So we can all assist in some way in Srila Prabhupada's mission. No one can say, oh, I don't know how I can do something. No, we all have a field. This verse, or this chapter is talking about the Kshetra. Kshetra means a field. Kshetra, Kshetragya. And the knower of the field. So we have these bodies. These are Krishna's bodies, Krishna's energy. And we can use it, our mind, our energy, our life, our words, our money, in the service of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And nobody can check that. Even they may attempt to. Some envious persons may try to stop us from serving Prabhupada, but it's not possible. Just like Prahlad Maharaj. So much endeavor was made to check his devotional service to Lord Nrsimhadev, to Narada Muni. It was impossible. Only because the only thing really required is our desire. If we have that sincere desire, I want to assist Srila Prabhupada. And then nothing can check that. But if we want to be a great devotee, and we give up our actual position, which is a humble servant, assisting Srila Prabhupada, then, of course, we'll disqualify ourselves. And we see that happen. Because the process is so scientific that those who become envious, then they disqualify themselves. They're no longer allowed on the platform of service to Srila Prabhupada. Although he's open, he's inviting everyone, come. He's ready to take our service. This is his kindness. Srila Prabhupada is so magnanimous that he openly has come and mixed with the materialists and giving us all a chance to assist him in his movement. And it was very austere for him. We could see that. Sometimes I could see, once he looked at me like, in the same way, he was thinking, how is this Aborigine come into my room? The story was, it was in Vrindavan, and I had been preaching in Japan, and after some years there, 3 years I think it was, we had installed Radha Krishna deities and temple and so on. And then some other devotees went there. I won't mention the name, but they were going to collect money, which they did. They collected a lot of money there. But in the course of after they were there for 6 months, they got deported by the authorities, Japanese authorities. And then I heard that. So I was a little disturbed because I had spent 3 years there. We had installed the deities and so on. And because once they came and then I left, they didn't want me to be there. So they were in charge of the yatra after that. So when I heard that from Prabhupada's secretary in Vrindavan, I went into Prabhupada's room, and I didn't really announce myself. I paid my obeisance, but then immediately I got up and I said, I knew this was going to happen. And Prabhupada just was sitting on his bed, and he looked at me like, what is this Aborigine doing in my room? that was kind of the look that he had. And then I told him, I said, now we're being thrown out of Japan. So then he sat on the bed, he was a little thoughtful. And then he said, I did not want that this should happen. And he said, okay, you can go back. I said, oh my God. I didn't want to go back. But that was what Prabhupada was like. If you came with a complaint, then you also had to be ready to fix it, whatever was required. So within a few days, I was on a plane from Vrindavan. There I was in Vrindavan with Prabhupada, and I had to go back to Japan. So the point is that Prabhupada had to tolerate these kind of things. That was his special empowerment, that he could work with the Aborigines. And just like Hanuman, Ramchandra was working with the monkeys. So Prabhupada didn't have very many high-class men. Really, that's the truth. Even he said himself. Now, of course, we're getting some high-class Indian men more and more. By the mercy of Radhanath, Bhakti Churu, and others, Gopal-Krishna. So they're followed. But even at Prabhupada's time, there weren't many, very few, really gentlemen, qualified people. So Prabhupada, when he had to use us, we were Americans and we had no culture, and I would just walk in and speak to him like that, and he had to tolerate somehow, because he thought, well, maybe I'll get some service. But it was very difficult for him in some ways. He was such an aristocrat, high-class gentleman, and he had to mix with these people. So, but he was willing to do that. And gradually, he purified. Those who stayed became a little more qualified, little by little. And so, Prabhupada is still in that position. He's ready to take everyone's service if we agree to cooperate with him. And he told us very clearly, so I've given you this ISKCON society, It's like a skyscraper. You just have to fill in the branches. So we have our assignment here in Orlando. There's a good field. So many students are there, and so many Hindus and Indian people that are receptive to this message. So if we cooperate together, now Krishna's given us some money, we can get this land, we can do something that will be substantial, that will be pleasing to Prabhupada. And then we can be sure that Krishna will be pleased. So let us cooperate for that. Thank you very much. Any questions? Comments? Nice to have Sankar back. Thank you for nice kirtan. But maybe you would speak a couple minutes, some special realization. You change your ashram, I see your color of your dress.
Actually,
I
just came back, but still I am living with Vijit Prabhu. Vidam Prabhu now. No, Vidam Pran Prabhu. So I told him, I don't feel like to go back to temple with this kind of dress because that's a proper uniform. But he said, anyway, if your purpose is to spiritual advancement, so don't matter for the dress.
Yeah.
Let's go and participate. So that's the reason I came, Maharaj. Because I didn't go back to my own place there where I stayed. So I had no uniform. I just came with a pant, shirt, like plain. I never wear a uniform in the plane, in the flight. So
anyway, we're happy that you're here and hope that we see you regularly. Anyone else has a comment? Bhagavad Gita ki.